Hi everyone. Thank you guys for attending today's presentation. Today I'm gonna talk broadly about Palestine, my country. But first, I will introduce myself, both in English and in Arabic. Starting with the Arabic language, um, um, I would say مرحبا. أنا اسمي بلال الكرد. أنا من فلسطين وأسكن في قطاع غزة. أنا أتكلم العربية والإنجليزية. أنا حاليا أدرس اللغة العربية. أنا حاليا أدرس اللغة العربية في جامعة Scranton. So if you guys didn't know what um, this sentence mean, I would start by going in English. Hi or hello, my name is Bilal Al-Kurd. I am from Palestine and I live in the Gaza Strip. I speak English and Arabic and I'm currently teaching the Arabic language at the University of Scranton. So I will briefly today talk about the language, geography, population, economy, and we'll go through history, Palestine, and culture in the end. First of all, talking of the language, now in the Middle East, the most spoken language, which is the Arabic language. And in Palestine, in my country, the majority of the people of the Palestinians speak Arabic. Some of them speak Hebrew because we are occupied an occupied country by Israel. Um, but here is to you that about 313 million Arabic speakers in the whole world, making it the fifth most spoken language globally. So it is an important language. If you come here to the Middle East, it would be lovely that you learn the Arabic to speak it. I'll show you here the map where the Arabic language is spoken. So you can find countries that you usually hear about, which is Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan. Most of these countries that you see in the map, they speak the Arabic language. So a lot of people from Europe, a lot of people from America, they would come and work in here, and most of them are interested in learning the Arabic language to easily deal with the people living in these countries. So if you want to speak a little bit of Arabic, you will go and say my name, right? So you say أنا اسمي. For example, you want to say I am Bilal, أنا اسمي Bilal, and you go by your name. The most greeting that we use, which is Assalamu alaikum, right? This is like the Islamic greeting that we use daily in our life. Assalamu alaikum, which means peace be upon you. Assalamu alaikum. And you can go easily with marhaba. Marhaba is like saying hello, hi, and it's lovely like to use these whenever you like meet with someone who is from the Middle East or who speaks Arabic. Okay then. Now I'll be talking about the geography of Palestine. So where is Palestine? Palestine is located in the Southwest Asia. It is in the heart of the Middle East. And it has a great strategic location because it is linking the three continents with each other. It connects Europe, Asia, and Africa. As you see it here, it's very small compared to the other countries surrounding it. So Palestine is pretty small. So talking of the of Palestine and the space of it. So the three countries or the four countries that are surrounding or around Palestine, we have Jordan, that is from the east, the Mediterranean Sea from the west, and Lebanon and Syria above to the north, and we have Egypt and Gulf of Aqaba to the south. So the total area of historical Palestine. So now I'll be talking about the area of historical Palestine, which is the Palestine in the past, not the current one, because it's occupied. So the historical Palestine is around 27,000 square kilometers, and compared to Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania is like bigger than Palestine, but if I'm talking here about the population of Palestine is about 5 million people. And those people, I will explain that they are the people who only live in the West Bank and in Gaza, not not in the whole Palestine. Why? Because I'll be explaining about the history of Palestine. You will know why, like people only live, the Palestinians only live in with the West Bank and Gaza only. So the population compared to Pennsylvania, it's like it's so small, and it is estimated that more than 6 billion Palestinians live in a global diaspora because of the political situation happening in Palestine. And talking of religion, the vast majority are Muslims and around 5% Christians in all over Palestine. So the weather of Palestine, it is mostly like most of the days it's moderate, but when it comes to summer, it is hot and dry, and in winter it is cold and rainy in winter, and sometimes it snows. It happens that like in every 5 or 4 years it snows, mostly in Jerusalem and in the places where it's high and where there are mountains north of Palestine. Looking at the economy, now about 49% um, um, we have the employment rate, which is 49%. So usually Palestinians depend on agriculture and fishing for living. So they would like do planting of olive trees, grapevines, figs, and citrus. And fishing is the main thing people actually depend on here in Gaza. Thinking about the currency, we had in the past our own um, currency, which is the Palestinian pound, right? Um, but it was then replaced by the Jordanian dinar and remained in usage in the West Bank and Jordan until 1950. And in the Gaza Strip, the Palestinian pound continued to circulate until April 1951, when it was replaced by the Egyptian pound. But now, here in Palestine, we use the three currencies. The main one, which is the Israeli shekel, we use it like on daily basis to buy things, do transportation, and for the Jordanian dinar, we use it like for buying lands, or someone who is getting married would like use Jordanian dinar. For American dollar, so if you have like a job, you work for like an institution, your salaries would be like in American dollar. And some people would like, if you want to buy some things that like a laptop, appliances, you would use the American dinar most of the time. Now, talking of the main thing of the presentation, which is the history of Palestine. Now, throughout the history, Palestine has been ruled by numerous groups, including the Assyrians, Babylonians, Persians, Greeks, Romans, and Arabs, Fatimids, Seljuk Turks, Crusaders, Egyptians, and Mamluks from from the 15th to 17th to 1917, and then in the end it was the Ottoman Empire ruled much of the region. So it was religiously diverse, including mostly Muslims and Christians, but a small number of Jews who lived generally in peace. In Europe, most of the Jews were joining a movement called Zionism, which said that Judaism was not just a religion but nationality, one that deserved a nation. So there was this well-known person, Theodor Herzl. So after centuries of persecution, many believed a Jewish state was their only way of safety. So he is a Zionist leader who was born in Hungary. Many Jewish were separated in different countries, and his idea was to make alternatives to gather them in one country. He made a conference in 1897 to obtain support of his idea. After that, they decided to build their country in Palestine. So the British mandate for Palestine in the first decades of the 20th century, tens of thousands of Jews moved to Palestine. So in World War One, the Ottoman Empire collapsed, and then came the British mandate to Palestine, which supported the Jewish and actually allowed their immigration to Palestine. So many of the Jews arrived, settling in farming communes, which made like the tension between the Jews and Arabs, and both sides committed acts of violence. And by the 1930s, the British mandate began limiting Jewish immigration. In response, Jewish militias formed to fight both the local Arabs and resist the British rule because they didn't like that. So then came the Holocaust, which led many more Jews to flee and um, galvanize, galvanize much of the world in support of the Jewish state. And in 1947, as sectarian violence between Arabs and Jews grew in Palestine, the United Nations actually approved a plan to divide the British Palestine into two separate states, one for Jews, which is Israel, and one for Arabs, which is Palestine. And the plan was meant to give Jews a state to establish Palestinian independence and to end the sectarian violence that the British could no longer control. So that here was the end of the British mandate, Palestine. And then what we call a Nakba, the Jews actually accepted the plan and declared independence as Israel. But Arabs throughout the region saw the UN plan was unfair, and they saw that they were stealing the land of Palestine. So many of the Arab states who had just recently won independence themselves, they declared war in Israel in effort to establish a unified Arab Palestine where all of British Palestine had been. And the new state of Israel won the war, but in the process, they pushed well past their borders. So Arabs did not accept stealing of the land of Palestine. That made them like so angry, and that actually was a result of the war. And then what we call a Nakba, which is the Palestinian Exodus. Um, when Israel won the war, they expelled huge numbers of Palestinians from their homes, creating a massive refugee populations, whose descendants today number about 7 million of refugees in Palestine and outside Palestine. And at the end of the war, Israel controlled all of the territory except for Gaza, which is controlled by Egypt, and the West Bank, which is controlled by Jordan. And the United Nations Relief and Works Agency defines Palestinian refugee as a person whose normal place of residence was Palestine between June 1946 and May 1948, and the person who lost both their homes and means of livelihood as a result of the 1948 Arab-Israel conflict. Now, if you see it explains a lot in here. You can see the map of Palestine starts to shrink by time. So the green part here to the left, that's the historical Palestine I was talking about before the Jewish immigration to Palestine, and then by time it started to shrink until this what it shows in the picture to the far right. We see the few green parts. This is what is left of Palestine, which is Gaza and the West Bank. So as I said, what remains from Palestine nowadays, which is the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and east part of Jerusalem, which many people in Jerusalem are facing like violation of rights these days. So Palestinians now own only 22% of their land. So I want to show you like a quick video of what's happening these days in Jerusalem. there's like it's going viral all over the internet, saving Sheikh Jarrah, which is like a Palestinian neighborhood who are like Israeli settlers are trying to take over. So I want to show you this quick video.
Well, we're not able to hear your video, I think, because it's hooked to the microphone.
I'm not sharing. I'm sorry, I'm not sharing the. Yeah.
Yeah, we're still not able. We're able to see it, but we're still not able to hear anything.
I'm sorry. It's good now.
You are stealing my house.
And if I don't steal it, someone else.
So actually, this is so sad that it's happening currently in Sheikh Jarrah.
You are
And
stealing.
I would actually here mention that since I am from the Gaza Strip is always described as an open air prison. So we are actually like in Gaza have been like living under siege for about like 10 years now. We are actually not allowed to travel easily. So we only have two actually crossing points, which is Rafah in here, which is controlled by Egypt, and Erez, which is controlled by Erez. And fishermen, because we depend on fishing, it's only this area that we are allowed to fish in. So we actually are not also allowed to travel through sea if we want to. And in the past, we used to have this airport, which is Gaza International Airport, but unfortunately, it's only operated for 2 years. And then after the second Intifada, which is the second revolution, Israel bombed the radar station and control tower on 4th of December 2001, and bulldozers cut the runway on 10th of January 2002, rendering airport inoperable. And what's left, some actions Israel committed against Palestinians, making checkpoints and settlements, which is apparent violation of the Palestinian rights, and making the apartheid wall, which is the separation wall in the West Bank, which is built in 2002 to prevent actually Palestinians to enter their area, and a total length of 786 kilometers. Until now, they are building more, which destroyed many agricultural lands and reducing the available water supply. Finally, in the presentation, I will talk about the culture. So away from politics, traditional food and desserts that we have in Palestine, we have the dish which is maqluba, and we have mujaddara. If you come here to Palestine, you're invited to a Palestinian family, they would bring the first dish to you, which is upside down. We call it, that's literal translation, which is maqluba. It's very popular here in Palestine. And nothing actually beats the Palestinian breakfast. So we usually in the morning we have the bread, the tea with the mint, pastries with thyme, tomatoes and cucumber, as you see, the hummus and the beans, which taste so delicious, and the cheese for sure, falafel if you haven't tried falafel, and the olives and olive oil. For the sweet, we have the baklava and kunafa. They are so delicious, especially the kunafa, which is a special dough with the cheese and a thick syrup of sugar and pistachios. You guys should try this one day. And talking of the traditional clothes, so for women, usually for women, this is like the traditional clothing that they wear for occasions. We call it at-tatris, and we call this taupe, which women actually wear most of the time for like celebrations and most of the um, celebrations, like weddings too. For the guys, we have like the one I'm wearing right now, which is kufiya, the Palestinian kufiya, and this is the like how it came to fashion. Like the Palestinian guys would make shirts out of it. But it's usually like they wear it around their heads and their necks, and it's actually so beautiful. Uh, and it actually like to mention something that about the kufiya, it actually symbolizes the Palestinian resistance. And here I share about the music and dancing, which is the dabke, which is a traditional folk dance for Palestine. Usually it's a dance of community performed at weddings and other joyous occasions. And I want to show you the video here of the dabke.
يا باي باي يا باي حياهم الله الفلسطيني
Diva Remix.
And the last thing I'm going to share here is holy and famous places in Palestine, which is the Dome of the Rock. And it is actually in Jerusalem, the capital of Palestine. It is the most believed to have been the place where our Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, ascended to heaven. So it is an so important place to us. Another place which is so important here in Palestine, which is the Church of Resurrection. It is most sacred site in the world for millions of Christians, actually, since the 4th century. And lastly, I'm going to share some few pictures of my city, which is Rafah. This is my city, and actually it is in the far south of the Gaza Strip. It is about 55 square kilometers, and the population, as you see it, compared to the Scranton's population, it's very big. When talking of the space, Rafah is smaller than Scranton city, but more population because people are. Rafah is so crowded. Most of it are refugee camps. As you see here, this is a refugee camp in my city. The people of these houses who are actually like refugees from their lands in Palestine, which I like in the beginning of the presentation talked about, as they were expelled from their land. And lastly, here I'm talking about the famous personalities in Palestine. We have Mahmoud Abbas, Muhammad Assaf, who is a Palestinian pop singer. We use his songs to actually for dancing for dabke, and he actually won the 2nd season of Arab Idol. And most of the people around the world, especially in the Middle East, love to listen to his songs. And if you're going to literature, we have Mahmoud Darwish, who is a Palestinian poet who is very popular, who was regarded as the Palestinian national poet. And lastly, Ghassan Kanafani. If you want to learn a lot about Palestine and what happened in Palestine in the past, you would want to read a lot from this guy's novels. Ghassan Kanafani, who is an author and the leading member of the Popular Front of the Liberation of Palestine. And that's it for the presentation. Thank you guys so much.